The Chicago Bears just finished winning the NFC North, and somehow this offseason might be even more dangerous than the season itself. Ben Johnson stood at the podium during the league owners' meetings and said something about Caleb Williams that should make every defense in the NFL lose sleep. He called him unpredictable. He said that when the play call is wrong, when the scheme fails, when the coaching staff guesses wrong on a coverage, Caleb Williams bails them out with pure ability that almost nobody on the planet can match. That is not coach speak. That is a head coach in year 2 telling the league that his quarterback is becoming something they cannot plan for. Caleb is entering his 3rd NFL season, his first full offseason, knowing every detail of this offense. And Ben Johnson is already talking about him like a weapon that has not even been fully loaded yet. A 27-touchdown, 3,942-yard season was just the foundation. The scary part is what comes next, but the offense is only half the story. A Super Bowl champion just signed with the Bears, and Ben Johnson told reporters this player has a holy cow it factor that genuinely stunned him when they met. Kobe Bryant walked away from the defending champions in Seattle and chose Chicago on a 3-year, $40 million deal because he believes in what this team is building. On the other side of the ball, a former Detroit Lions fan favorite looked at Dan Campbell's squad, looked at Ben Johnson's squad, and said the choice was easy. Khalif Raymond picked the Bears over the Lions without hesitation, and his exact words about Johnson's offense should worry every team in this division. Meanwhile, a 10-year Detroit veteran is going public about how the organization ghosted him after a decade of loyalty, and Ben Johnson was the one who picked up the phone when nobody else would. The culture shift in Chicago is real. Players are not just noticing it, they are running toward it, and it gets even better from a roster construction standpoint. Ryan Poles is sitting at pick 25 in the draft, and a quarterback named Ty Simpson out of Alabama is climbing boards so fast that desperate teams might hand the Bears a gold mine of extra picks just to move up and grab him. The blueprint already exists from last year's draft in the exact same spot. This franchise has its quarterback, its head coach, its identity, and now it is stacking talent on both sides of the ball while the rest of the NFC North tries to figure out what happened. But here's the part that nobody is talking about yet. Ben Johnson just publicly called out his own offense. He said he is not happy with how his staff coached receivers to get open last season. He said the Bears left a massive amount of production on the table. And when you see the numbers behind that statement, you will understand why this team might be about to take a jump that nobody in the league is ready for. But before we get into that, hit that like and subscribe button for more Bears and all the NFL content. Let's aim for 500 likes on this video. Most coaches celebrate after winning their division. Ben Johnson chose a different path. At the owners' meetings, he flat out told reporters he was not happy with his offensive staff's ability to get the primary receiver open at a high enough clip. Think about that for a second. A head coach standing in front of the media after a season where his offense was first or second in explosive plays in the entire NFL, saying his coaching staff did not do a good enough job. That is not frustration. That is a standard so high, it should terrify the rest of the league. The numbers back up exactly what he is saying. The Bears finished 3rd in the NFL in drops and 1st in dropped yardage. Rome Odunze left opportunities on the table. Luther Burden had moments of inconsistency early in the season before catching fire in the second half. The whole receiving room contributed to that problem, and Johnson is not letting anyone off the hook, including himself. He pointed out that the scramble drill between Caleb Williams and the pass catchers was not clean enough. Too many times the quarterback extended a play and the receivers were not on the same page, or the throw was there and the catch was not. Cut those mistakes in half, and you are looking at a top 5 offense across every major category. Johnson also set the tone for OTAs by emphasizing one thing above everything else: catching the football, fundamentals, getting back to the basics before expanding the playbook. He wants Odunze and Burden to take a real leap, and he wants his coaching staff including receivers coach Antoine Randall, to scheme them open more consistently. But what he said about his new offensive coordinator might be the most important coaching move of this entire offseason. When Declan Doyle left for the Baltimore Ravens to become their offensive coordinator, some Bears fans thought the sky was falling. Losing your OC after one season feels like a gut punch. But Ben Johnson did not panic. He did not go searching outside the building. He promoted Press Taylor from passing game coordinator to offensive coordinator. And the more you learn about this move, the more you realize it might actually make this offense better. Press Taylor is not some unknown position coach getting a shot he is not ready for. He spent 3 seasons as the OC for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He was the assistant quarterbacks coach for the Philadelphia Eagles when they won the Super Bowl in 2017. He is the guy credited with designing the Philly special. He also drew up that flea flicker touchdown to Luther Burden against the Dallas Cowboys last season. Ben Johnson called him the most organized coach he has ever been around. That is coming from one of the sharpest offensive minds in football. Backup quarterback Tyson Bagent went even further, calling Taylor an extreme student of the game who has a massive database of plays against every possible defensive look. The real advantage here is continuity. Taylor already knows the system. He already knows Caleb Williams. He already understands what year 3 should look like because he watched year 2 unfold from inside the building. Compare that to what happened in Detroit when Ben Johnson left and they plugged in John Morton, who had never called plays before. That offense fell apart, and the Lions missed the playoffs entirely. Johnson built his coaching staff with depth for exactly this reason. But the next roster question is the one keeping fans up at night, and it involves the most important position on the offensive line. Ben Johnson did not sugarcoat this one. At the owners' meetings, he was asked directly about the left tackle situation and said all options are on the table. He admitted it is tough to predict how that position looks this season or even over the next 5 years. When a head coach talks like that about a premium position, it tells you the team is genuinely exploring every possible direction. The reason for the uncertainty is Ozzy Trapailo's patellar tendon injury. That is one of the hardest injuries for any player to return from, especially an offensive lineman who needs to anchor against power rushers every single snap. The way Johnson spoke, there are clearly no expectations that Trapailo plays in 26. If he gives them anything late in the season, that is a bonus, not a plan. Right now, Braxton Jones is the front runner, and there is a real reason for optimism. Johnson said Jones is up to 310 pounds and looked completely transformed the last time he saw him. That is a massive jump from the 290 to 295. Range he was at during training camp last year when he was still recovering from ankle surgery. Jedrick Wills, a former first-round pick, is also in the mix as a reclamation project. But here's where it gets interesting. Johnson specifically mentioned the possibility of a long-term solution. The Bears attended Caden Proctor's Pro Day at Alabama and are bringing in Max Ahinakor from Arizona State for a top 30 visit. Monroe Freeling out of Georgia and Caleb Lomu out of Utah are also names to watch. Drafting a tackle at pick 25 is absolutely on the table if the right player is there. And speaking of that pick, there's a scenario brewing in this draft that could give Ryan Poles exactly the kind of opportunity he loves. Ty Simpson out of Alabama is climbing NFL draft boards faster than anyone expected. He threw for 3,567 yards with 28 touchdowns and just 5 interceptions last season, completing 64.5% of his passes as a one-year starter. He is widely considered the clear second-best quarterback in this class behind Fernando Mendoza, and quarterback-needy teams are getting antsy. For the Bears, that desperation from other teams is pure gold. The blueprint for how this plays out already exists. Last year, the Houston Texans held the exact same pick, number 25, and traded it to the New York Giants, who used it to draft quarterback Jackson Dart. Houston received pick 34 in the second round, pick 99 in the third round, and a 26th third rounder. That is a massive haul for sliding back just 9 spots. Now picture Ryan Poles doing the same thing. The New York Jets have shown the most aggressive interest in Simpson, scheduling a private workout and dinner with high-level staff. The Arizona Cardinals met with him at the Combine. The Pittsburgh Steelers sat down with him, including head coach Mike McCarthy. If the Bears move back from 25 to 33, they lose just 8 spots and likely still land one of the defensive players at the top of their board. Then they pocket extra second and third round picks to load up on talent. Poles has proven he loves these moves, and this draft class is setting up perfectly for it. But what is happening inside the NFC North right now might matter even more than any draft pick. A division rival is falling apart from the inside, and the Bears are the ones picking up the pieces. Taylor Decker gave the Detroit Lions 10 seasons, 140 starts, a Pro Bowl in 2024. He played through injuries year after year, vouched for coaches to keep their jobs, and publicly declared on social media that he wanted to come back for an 11th season. What he got in return was silence. According to Justin Rogers of the Detroit Football Network, Decker last spoke to head coach Dan Campbell on February 23rd. After that, the team asked him to take a pay cut, and neither Campbell nor GM Brad Holmes ever followed up. Not a phone call, not a text, nothing. Decker had to reach out to a position coach on his own just to get information about his future. He ended up requesting his release and creating a second social media post to announce it, which was embarrassing after he had already told the world he was returning. Alquadin Muhammad, who recorded 11 sacks for the Lions last season, told Tampa Bay reporters the exact same thing happened to him. No explanation, no goodbye. The pattern is becoming impossible to ignore, and free agents across the league are watching how Detroit treats its veterans on the way out. But now here's the contrast. Ben Johnson reached out to Decker personally, not to recruit him, just to check in. A simple phone call that the entire Detroit front office could not be bothered to make. And then Khalif Raymond, who spent 5 seasons with the Lions, told Dan Pompei of The Athletic that choosing Chicago over Detroit was the easiest decision of his offseason. Because of Johnson's creativity and the way he gets every player involved, the Lions lost their culture. The Bears are building one, and the newest defensive addition to this roster proves that point better than anything. The Bears entered this offseason with 0 safeties under contract. Kevin Byard departed. Jaquan Brisker left for Pittsburgh. The entire position group needed a complete reset, and Ryan Poles moved fast. He signed Kobe Bryant away from the defending Super Bowl champion Seattle Seahawks on a 3-year, $40 million deal with $25.75 million guaranteed. Bryant is 26 years old, entering his prime, and coming off a season where he recorded 66 tackles and 4 interceptions while helping Seattle win it all. What makes this signing special goes beyond the stats. Poles told reporters that the moment Bryant agreed to terms, his phone started blowing up with calls from the Seahawks coaching staff and front office, furious about losing him. That kind of reaction from a Super Bowl winning organization tells you everything about the caliber of player the Bears just added. Bryant originally entered the league as a cornerback before converting to safety, giving him rare versatility that fits perfectly into Dennis Allen's defensive scheme. Over 4 seasons in Seattle, he piled up 227 tackles, 7 interceptions, and 7 forced fumbles. The leadership element sealed the deal for Ben Johnson, who said Bryant carries a holy cow factor that you cannot teach. Caleb Williams reached out personally after the signing, and the two exchanged messages about what they could build together in Chicago. Bryant already has Week 1 circled if the schedule puts the Bears against Seattle, telling reporters they better be ready for him. That is the kind of energy and edge this defense needed. But the real reason Bears fans should feel confident about 26 has nothing to do with any single signing. It is about the entire machine that is coming back. Almost every key piece of this offense is returning. The starting quarterback, the starting running back, 4 of the 5 Week 1 offensive linemen. Rome Odunze and Luther Burden are both a year older and a year more comfortable in the system. Colston Loveland enters his 2nd season after emerging as one of the best young tight ends in football down the stretch. Both Loveland and Burden missed OTAs last year because of injuries, meaning their reps did not start until training camp. This time around, they get a full offseason to build chemistry with Caleb Williams from day one. The only notable departures are DJ Moore, who was traded to the Buffalo Bills, and center Drew Dolman, who retired. Ben Johnson admitted he got emotional when Moore came to say goodbye, but at $28 million against the cap, the move was the right call, with Odunze and Burden ascending. At center, Garrett Bradbury steps in as a veteran who has started in the NFL for 6 or 7 years. Johnson said the hope is that this entire group starts much further along in the spring than they did last year, when it took until after the bye week for the offense to truly click. That early season rush should be almost completely gone in 26. And then Johnson dropped the line that defines this entire offseason. He told reporters his coaching staff will be hyper-vigilant against any complacency or entitlement after last season's success. He said he was happy to hear from fans for about a week, but he does not want to hear about 25 anymore. The Bears have moved on. That is not just a good coach talking. That is a championship mentality, taking root in a franchise that has not had one in decades. The NFC North better pay attention because this team is just getting started.